The Busch Grand National Division begins its second decade, and ESPN is proud to be part as we begin our second decade of excellence. In the past, it was considered a stepping stone series, but now the Grand National Division stands on its own. It's seen the best drivers join its ranks, drivers like Dale Earnhardt and Neil Bonnet. 10 years ago, Earnhardt drove to victory, the first of 17 in this series. Second that day was Jody Ridley, now a four-time and defending Winston All-Pro champ. Third was Sam Ard, a regular who went on to win the series title the next 2 years. Today's Grand National Series will see occasional Winston Cup competitors, but it also has stars of its own, like Tommy Houston, who hasn't missed a single event in the last decade. And nine-time winner Jimmy Hensley, third on the all-time starts list. The future of this division looks bright, with 27-year-old Bobby Labonte and 20-year-old Jeff Gordon. Also young Joe Nemechek, who's earned the outside front row spot for today's Goody's 300.
We do invite you to stay with us if you so desire, as we'll have the final Winston Cup practice for the Daytona 500 by STP tomorrow. The final practice to take place following.
We await the moment that the drivers will be told to
start. Ladies and gentlemen, for the most famous words in motorsports, we present once again Mr. Jim Kufeld.
Drivers, start your engines.
It's time to go racing as 44 cars and drivers prepare for 300 miles of action at the World Center of Racing. Today, from Daytona International Speedway in Florida, it's the Goody's 300 Busch Grand National Race. And bright sunshiny skies and very warm temperatures have greeted thousands of race fans as we get set for the next to the last stock car race in Daytona Speed Weeks 92. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Bob Jenkins, and welcome again to Daytona. The Goody's 300 is always one of the most competitive races of the entire Speed Weeks. To evidence that, well, there were 52 drivers that tried to get into the field, and among those that didn't make today's race, Harry Gant and Tommy Ellis. It's also been one of the most unpredictable. Yet, Benny, in the last decade, only 4 drivers have actually won this race.
Folks, I want to talk about experience once again. You may be sick of hearing me talk about that, but Bob said 4 drivers have won the Goody's 300 in the past 10 years. Earnhardt, 4 times. Darrell Waltrip has won it 3 times. Jeff Bodine twice. And Bobby Allison has won it 1 time. Why have they won? They know how to draft. They know how to work traffic as the race wears on. The other experienced drivers don't know how to do that. Do they, Ned, Jerry?
And Benny, the experience goes a little bit deeper than the experience that the driver has. Setting the car up is so important here, knowing what you need to do to that race car so that it will react in the air, running close to other race cars out there. Now, we've seen in past years, some of the drivers and crews didn't have the experience they needed, and we've seen some major wrecks in the Goody's 300. Hopefully that won't happen today, but experience helps to keep you from getting in those situations. Now, I've got a little different position today. I'm at the entrance of pit road. Hopefully we'll bring you a little different perspective of the race. Now, we talk about experience. There's one driver in the field who has more in the Busch Grand National Series than anyone else. For more on that, let's go to the pits and Dr. Jerry Punch.
You're exactly right, Ned. Tommy Houston, at 47 years of age, has been the cornerstone of this series these last 11 years. Today marks the 300th consecutive Busch Grand National race he has started. In fact, he was honored prior to the race with this plaque behind me from the fine folks at NASCAR and Goody's. Tommy Houston also is the undisputed record holder in qualifying here at Daytona, setting that record back in 1987, qualifying at over 194 miles per hour. But how competitive is this series? The former record holder had to take a provisional starting spot to get in today's field. He will start way back in 41st spot. So a lot of experience starting toward the back of the pack, and some young drivers, inexperienced, starting up front. For more, here's John Kernan.
Well, Jerry, Joe Nemechek has only run, I should say, 2 races here. This is his 3rd race at the Daytona International Speedway, yet he is on the front row. But the only way to get experience is to get behind the wheel and head out there on the racetrack and go to school. And that's what Joe did earlier this week as he practiced with Dale Earnhardt. Now, Joe says while running in the draft with Dale, Earnhardt showed him what was wrong with his race car. In fact, Bob, Joe says that he got scared a few times out there, but he feels that in the long run it's going to make him a much better driver.
A A lot of experienced drivers are set to go, and a lot of young, relatively inexperienced drivers are getting set to go. They're on the racetrack for a couple of warm-up laps prior to the green flag and the start of today's Goodies 300. Take a look at the 44-car starting grid and the racetrack when we return to Daytona. ESPN Speed World on hand today at Daytona International Speedway for the Goodies 300 Busch Grand National Race. And here's today's Sears Die Hard starting lineup. The pole sitter is Michael Waltrip in the Pennzoil Pontiac number 30, speed 186.5, 2 miles an hour slower than last year's pole. Joe Nemechek is outside to number 87, the Texas Pete Chevrolet. The second row, number 36, the Durapine by Cox Pontiac, driven by Kenny Wallace. Outside is a GM Goodwrench Chevrolet number 3, driven by Dale Earnhardt. Starting fifth, Darrell Waltrip, the Western Auto Chevrolet number 17, and the Gwaltney's Big 8 Chevrolet number 27, handled by Ward Burton from Boston, Virginia. In the fourth row, tomorrow's front row for the Daytona 500, Sterling Marlin in car number 10 and Bill Elliott in number 11. The fifth row, Ernie Irvin in car number 4 and Tracy Leslie in 72. The sixth row consists of Ken Schrader, number 15, and Jack Sprague in number 48. Ricky Craven will start in 13th position, and fellow Busch Grand National North competitor Joe Bessie is alongside. The 8th row, Rick Mast and Steve Grissom. In the 9th row for today's race, Jimmy Spencer and Jeff Burton. And as we look at the rest of the starting lineup again, Benny, it was a very tough field to get into.
Awfully tough field. Harry Gant, Tommy Ellis, a couple of longtime competitors in Busch Grand National, did not make the show. And both those drivers tried to qualify a Buick. So it looks like that body style just doesn't like the speed.
And some pretty good names back here in the back of the field. Hut Strickland and Mike Wallace go from row number 19. And the drivers who had to take provisionals, Tommy Houston, Jeff Berry, Tom Peck, and the Rookie of the Year last year, Jeff Gordon. Here's a look at the racetrack very briefly. It is a 2.5-mile tri-oval, of course. The pole speed 186.5, time 48.243 seconds. 120 laps will go, and the field separated by 4.5 miles an hour. Darrell Waltrip carries our roof cam. We've seen this on short tracks many times. This is the first on a super speedway. Also, Bobby Labonte will carry one of our in-car cameras, and Dale Jarrett, who starts in 26th position. Here comes the field down to the line, and the green flag is out. Michael Waltrip with a great jump, and the Goodies 300 is underway. Restrictor plate on a 390 carburetor, so it is going to take them a little bit of time to get up to speed.
Sure is. Here comes Kenny Wallace on the inside of Nemechek and Earnhardt. Now Earnhardt's going to try to make it 3 abreast. Oh, man. Earnhardt is unbelievable at doing those things and making them work for him.
Ward Burton also with a nice move to the inside as we're about to complete lap number 1 with Michael Waltrip in the lead. Dale Earnhardt is second, followed by Burton, and then Darrell Waltrip has moved to 4th position. Now Earnhardt comes up on the rear spoiler of Michael Waltrip and may make a battle for the lead here.
Get Ward Burton to go with him, it probably should be easy to go by that front-running car. Michael Waltrip could be a sitting duck. Earnhardt closes up. There's Ernie Irvin, the 4 car on the inside. That's Sterling Marlin in the number 10 car on the outside.
That's the Jack Ingramone car. 2 abreast through the 3rd and 4th turns. Up front, we've got 5 cars running nose to tail, led by Michael Waltrip. And the second lap is completed. Still Waltrip, Earnhardt, Burton, Darrell Waltrip, and Nemechek, who has dropped from the 2nd starting position to 5th. And they are black flagging Dale Jarrett, apparently a violation at the green flag.
NASCAR said that he jumped the flag at the start of the race, the green flag that started the race. You have to stay 2 abreast until you pass the start-finish line. It's a stop and go. He stops. The official says, go ahead.
But stopping and then getting back up to speed means a lot of lost time on the racetrack. Darrell Waltrip thinking about 3rd position, can't make the move, and this is the roof cam as they come out of go into turn number 3 rather, and Waltrip holding down position number 4.
This is a little unusual for Darrell Waltrip. Ooh, look, what is Earnhardt doing?
He's trying to find a way around Michael Waltrip.
Usually you would think that Darrell Waltrip would be going backward, just feeling the competition out. Here Waltrip is trying to go to the front.
It's Darrell's style to take it easy in the first part of the race and watch what happens and then make the charge, but he's in 4th position right now, as up ahead it is Dale Earnhardt trying to go past Michael Waltrip for the lead. He does, and look at Ward Burton trying to get 2nd position. He takes the high side around Michael Waltrip.
Ward Burton made a great move. He decided all of a sudden, if Michael Waltrip's going to the inside, I'll go outside, and look, he's on the outside, and it looks like he has the pass made.
Darrell Waltrip has the best seat in the house to watch this battle for 2nd position, as he's right on the back bumper now of Michael Waltrip. Earnhardt has the lead, and they're stacking up 2 abreast behind him.
Michael refuses to fall in line. If he can just get him help, he wants to go back by Earnhardt, but there is no help there.
And Ward Burton now is 2nd position by about a half a car length. Sterling Marlin has moved all the way up from 4th position from his 7th position start, and this is the traffic behind Darrell Waltrip.
Looks like Joe Nemechek directly behind Darrell.
And Ernie Irvan on the left.
All these guys trying to figure out which line do I get in, which line will be the best one.
About 19 cars, and
Dale Jarrett's going the wrong way on pit road.
he has spun that Little Caesars car right at an entrance to the garage area. It looks like they're going to be shoving the number 32 behind the wall in a very disappointing afternoon for Dale Jarrett. Ward Burton now wants the lead as he pulls to the inside of Dale Earnhardt. Burton in car number 27, and Earnhardt, of course, in number 3, as Sterling Marlin and Ernie Irvan come behind. 2 abreast racing into the tri-oval.
Oh, wow.
Nemechek looked like he almost lost it. Coming out of turn number 4, had to take evasive action to the inside, but he saved it nicely. Look at this group of cars.
If people want Bob, I wouldn't get on the electric chair to get in that group of cars. Man, oh man. Ward Burton is really getting a lesson, because look around him. Dale Earnhardt, Ernie Irvan. And Ward is still trying to take that lead away. Sterling Marlin. What a great bunch of drivers he has around him. There's Michael Waltrip, the yellow number 30, the Pennzoil Pontiac.
Burton and Earnhardt still going at it for the lead. And the car sideways. That's Michael Waltrip, but he saved it. Unbelievable.
How did he do that? Mikey, you're wonderful.
Had he gotten a little bit more sideways, he would have taken about 8 or 10 cars with him.
Now, Michael Waltrip backing up like he has a flat tire or something, like he has a problem, Bob.
He was a pole sitter of the race. Man, did he come close to spinning. And now we see Sterling Marlin assuming 2nd position as Burton and Irvan battle side by side for 3rd. A lap ago, look how close on the bottom of the racetrack Michael Waltrip was to spinning. Did he get nudged?
It looks like he got nudged just a little bit. Is that Nemechek right behind him? And look how close Michael Waltrip came to losing control.
And as you look at all of the skid marks down there, you know that there have been instances that we have seen many times here in Speed Weeks of cars getting loose there in turn 4, but Michael Waltrip miraculously saved it. Back at Daytona after this. Daytona, and the tremendous battle up front continues. Look at this group of cars, and they're all going for position. Dale Earnhardt with the lead just moments ago now is fighting to stay in 4th position as Joe Nemechek heads the field. Sterling Marlin 2nd, and then Dale Earnhardt battling alongside Sterling Marlin. Battling alongside Ward Burton, I should say, for that 3rd spot.
Earnhardt and Burton need to get in line now, because look, we have a 4 or 5 car length advantage for these front 2 cars. Joe Nemechek, the leader, and Sterling Marlin. They can do a breakaway if those fellas behind them don't get in line.
Benny, you just hold your breath every moment that these guys are running so quickly, because you know if somebody gets slightly out of shape, it could cause a major, major problem.
I mean, they would have to be 15, 20 cars involved in the crash, because at 190 miles an hour, and that's about the speed these cars are traveling right there as they enter the corner. At 190, you can't stop it on a dime. Neither can you steer it on a dime. The car is going to go where it wants to go for a little bit.
But so far, everybody has been in good shape. Let's go to Dr. Jerry Punch, who has Dale Jarrett.
Dale, the first car to pull behind the wall. Dale, a tough break for you.
Yeah, it didn't last very long at all. Something happened to the clutch. And, I don't know. It started slipping there after I got the stop-and-go penalty, which was for no reason. But it's just unfortunate. We had picked up some sponsorship from Little Caesars Pizza, and I appreciate their help there. Just sorry it's so short-lived.
One of the favorites who thought he might have a shot today calls it quits. Let's check in with John Kernan down with Ronnie Silver in the Michael Waltrip pit. John?
Well, Ronnie, how has Michael reacted after that wild ride he took just a few moments ago?
He just said he about lost it, and the score said that he got it back real good. The car's real loose. We've about decided we'd set it up yesterday when it's a little cool. It's hotter today, and this must be slick. So the first stop, we're going to bring him in, get some more blade on the back of it, and 3 or 4 rounds of wedge and see if they can get going again.
The guys, what he means by blade, they're going to bump up the spoiler a few more degrees, a little more downforce on the rear end. Bob?
All right, John, the number 9 car driven by Joe Bessie is in the pits. Meanwhile, back to the front of the pack goes Dale Earnhardt, putting Nemechek back to second. Burton is still third.
How does Earnhardt know that he has room when he comes off the corner and he eases up in front of those cars? Just looks like he realizes there's no one out there in that time, and it always works for him.
Nemechek has been very impressive. Dropped back a few positions in the first 4 or 5 laps of the race, but has charged to the front.
Down in turn 2.
Oh, a car hard into the outside wall. A tremendous impact to the outside wall. The car bursting into flames. The flames are out. Several other cars are going to be involved. And I believe the car that made the heavy contact with the outside wall was the 01 car of Randy McDonald from Ontario, Canada. The car just took off and hit the outside wall. There was fire when the car made contact with the wall, and then other cars became involved.
What happens? The fuel pump sits very close to the frame up there, and I'm sure he got a leg hard enough that would have knocked the fuel pump off, and that would have caused a brief fire. The fire did go out almost instantly, though.
There's the car that made the hard contact, and here is the crash. You can see the momentary flash there, and then other cars become involved as he slides down through the second turn, banking it onto the backstretch.
Well, he's not going up or down. He's just staying right in the racetrack where the fellows have to go inside. That fellow went up and hit the outside retaining wall, and here these fellows came down in the infield. There's Michael Waltrip, our pole sitter, down in the grass.
Michael Waltrip did make contact with McDonald as he slid into the infield grass, and here it is again from another angle.
And look at the hood flying around off that car up there. It looked like a piece of metal. Another car backing in the wall up here. This red car has just hit the outside retaining wall, and here comes Michael Waltrip, and boom, he hits that car on the inside.
First caution period of the race. And Randy McDonald is climbing out of the car, and boy, oh boy, are we glad to see that, because I saw the initial impact, and it was unbelievable. And then, of course, he got hit by Michael Waltrip. And here is Mike Wallace in the number 20 car as he brings that car onto pit road and makes a stop. And the 09 car, driven by Scott Herberg, will pull back onto the racetrack. He also apparently involved in that tangle up in turn number 2. Back with more right after this from Daytona.
The Grand National crews have learned that almost anything can and usually will happen on a super speedway. That's why Tommy Houston's crew is prepared. Now, when these cars normally have an accident, they go ahead and head first. That's why they have a hub assembly here, spare oil coolers, spare A-frames, a spare radiator with an electric fan behind it, carburetor, a torch, welder, all these parts to fix the car, and one little packet to help the driver.
And a lot of teams are looking for spare parts to repair their cars from an accident out in turn number 2 that has brought out our first caution period. And here was Randy McDonald's initial impact with the outside wall.
I don't know. He made contact with another fellow. I think he got hit in the left rear, which spun the car. He goes in the wall head on. And other cars, the red car up on the outside has hit the outside retaining wall. Here's Michael Waltrip, our pole sitter, goes along and just clips Randy McDonald with the left front. And I think John Kern knows something on the Michael Waltrip situation. John?
Well, Benny, they're hoping that it's just a little bit of cosmetic damage, but as you know, cosmetic damage here on the Super Speedway can be a bad thing as they start going back up through the gearboxes. Earnhardt leading them to the start-finish line with Nemechek and Burton behind him. But getting back to Michael Waltrip, just on the left front, guys, just a little bit of superficial damage. They taped it up. They're hoping that it won't be too much of a hindrance to them, and Michael is off and across the line and almost up to full song.
And the green flag is out. We go back to racing from our first caution period on lap number 20 of this 120-lap race. It is Dale Earnhardt, followed by Joe Nemechek and Ward Burton, the first three, and they separate themselves a little bit from the rest of the field.
You'll notice that Joe Nemechek over the winter has picked up the sponsorship of the Texas Feet sponsor, the sauce people out of Winston-Salem.
And the Mark Martin car in this group as they come off the banking. Look at this battle for position as everybody's looking for a way around. Second place battle between Ward Burton and Joe Nemechek. Through the tri-oval and into turn one. Burton on the inside. Nemechek is high.
And Ernie Irvin is now going to go back on the outside. Jimmy Spencer, the black 45 on the inside. Throws it up on the back bumper of Ward Burton, helping him out a little bit. There's the 63 car, Chuck Bound. Cars 2 by 2. Only Earnhardt, the first three cars, the only cars that really and truly are in any kind of line.
And some smoke being seen from the number 10 car of Sterling Marlin. That's the car running in 5th position. We'll take a closer look and see if we can see evidence of that.
There's Nemechek. Nemechek takes the lead from Earnhardt.
And yeah, you can see Sterling Marlin with evidence now of that smoke in the rear end of the race car.
Ernie Irvin in the Kodak Chevrolet following Nemechek by, trying to take over second spot, but meanwhile Ward Burton has hooked up with Earnhardt. They may kick Ernie Irvin back to about 5th or 6th spot.
Looks like Ernie may have to go all the way back to 5th. Nemechek leads, then Earnhardt. And Irvin will fall into 5th position.
Tell you what, so far this Nemechek is doing a wonderful job with no more experience than he has here in Daytona. Running up front with Earnhardt, Sterling Marlin. Some of our observers are told us that the smoke we see from the 10 car is tire rubbing the fender, which is good news. It's not an oil leak, but the bad news is it may rub through and blow the tire out.
Good news and bad news. It could be something that would be fixed, but if he pushes it too long, it could cut down the tire. 45 car driven by Jimmy Spencer right in the thick of things there, and so is Rick Mast.
Now these guys need to get in line because there's a breakaway, a 3-car breakaway, while they're racing back for 4th spot.
While these three draft on each other and everybody else hunts for 4th place, the first three begin to pull away. Nemechek with a tremendous job. Let's go to John Kernan.
Well, Bob, Nemechek not only drives the race car, he also works on it. He owns it. This morning in the garage area, he was putting valve covers on, had grease all over him, while some of the other drivers were standing around, you know, looking like they were dressed up to go for a modeling shoot or something. But the interesting thing about the chassis underneath the sheet metal, it's 5 years old, and it was driven originally by Donnie Allison, and it looks like he's doing a good job right now with it.
He is, and as you were given that report, John, something very interesting happened. Ward Burton made a little bit of contact with Dale Earnhardt as they came off the second corner. Earnhardt shook his fist at him as they came off onto the back stretch.
He said, "Rookie, quit hitting on me."
Meanwhile, Earnhardt has gone to the front again, and another new leader.
I think maybe something's wrong with Nemechek. I mean, Earnhardt just blew by him. He was 10 car lengths behind him. He took the high line and went right by.
There's that smoke again from Sterling Marlin's car on the right side. position. Here comes Davey Allison. That's Rick Mast behind him, and then Chuck Bound. Nemechek is falling back. You're right, Benny.
Something's going on because Nemechek, the last time he went through that corner, fell back, and Earnhardt took the lead with ease.
So now it's Earnhardt. Ward Burton is in second. Irvin third. Marlin fourth. Nemechek and Spencer side by side for fifth. As if the NASCAR officials are going to black flag the 10 car, Sterling Marlin. Smoke coming from the right side of the car. NASCAR will black flag him.
You see the Maxwell House sponsorship on the 10 car. That's a tough race because Sterling Marlin has that car running awfully well. And here comes Spencer on the inside.
And he takes fourth.
And there is the black flag. Carl Simmons giving the black flag to Sterling Marlin. And John Kernan can update us on the 87. What's his problem, John?
Well, Benny, we talked about the experience factor. He just kind of got out of line there. They said he got caught to the outside, had no one to go with him, nowhere to go. So instead of trying to force the issue and cause a big crash, he decided to drop back just a little bit and get back in line, find a place where he could run comfortably.
Well, that just shows you what can happen when you do get out of the draft, but it also, I think, speaks well for the intelligence that Nemechek is bringing to this race.
We can see just how far he has fallen back since he had that problem.
The front three are Dale Earnhardt, followed by Ward Burton and Ernie Irvin, as we're 27 laps into the Goody's 300. ESPN Speed World for the Goody's 300 at Daytona International Speedway. We're looking from the pace car back on the field, and we are about to go green from our second caution period. While we were away, we had a two-car accident out in turn number 2 in the backstretch, Benny.
This is Robert Huffman. The Molly Black Gold Oldsmobile, that's Dave Resendez, has backed into the Huffman car. It looked like Huffman came off the corner, and it looked to me like something broke. He slammed in the outside retaining wall awfully hard. We still see some fire under the car from probably a broken oil line, broken fuel line, something like that. Here's another shot. We see Huffman's car, quite a bit of fire. He comes off the wall, and he has no control over the car. We can see that he really and truly, I don't think he's steering that car down there. It's going down there of its own accord. It finally gets in the grass, stops.
Now, Robert Huffman has been, as you can see, loaded onto the stretcher and is being taken to the infield care center, maybe taken over to nearby hospital, and will have a report as soon as possible on his condition. He did get out of the car on his own power. He jumped out of the car and then collapsed beside it. So we hope that everything is not serious for Robert Huffman. Well, our blimp today, sporting its new look, Goodyear's Spirit of Akron. The Spirit's trip to Daytona for today's telecast, courtesy of Goodyear Tires. And Benny, that thing's been painted. It's got some beautiful yellow and blue colors and really looks fine over the skies of Daytona.
That's the scary part. I think it's just been painted. It's the same old shit.
But some great shots from there. And now we get set for green flag here on lap number 38. Ernie Irvin is at the front of the field. Green flag is out once again. Earnhardt is second, followed by Ken Schrader, Davey Allison, and Chuck Bound. Several cars did make pit stops, and now look at Dale Earnhardt say, no way, Ernie, I'm the man that's supposed to be up here, and Earnhardt is in the lead again.
And that car that Dale Earnhardt is driving, that black 3, that's his car. That's his car. He owns that car, not Richard Childress. That 4 car Ernie Irvin is driving, that's his car. All these fellows have sportsman cars that they work on during the week. When they don't have anything to do, they go work on race cars like they have all their life. Ernie's going to retake the lead, or try to, going in turn 3, dips down and has the lead.
Oh, he's using the very low side of the racetrack. The car stuck right down on the bottom.
Is that Kenny Schrader back behind in 3rd spot?
It sure is, and Davey Allison is in 4th.
And those cars belong to those drivers. Let's see, who's going to lead that lap? Earnhardt came back on the outside and has retaken the lead.
But Ernie Irvin
got caught down on the inside there, Benny Parsons, and not enough help, at least from the fast cars, and that's going to let Earnhardt pull away. Boy, I'll tell you, if you don't get back in that line, and Ernie Irvan is still caught down there on the inside of Chuck Bowen, is he going to be able to get back in line?
How you like your spot down there, Ned?
Well, this is a great spot to watch a race from, Benny, no question about it. You see all the action and coming into the pits, off the fourth turn, just everywhere. Plenty of action, too.
All right, let's see. Ernie Irvan still trying to get back in line. He's on the inside. He has some help with Joe Nemechek. If those two guys can hook up.
Ooh, Nemechek, though, had to get on the brakes. The cars that are on the lead lap did pit during that caution, and one of the cars up in this lead group now is Jeff Gordon, the 1991 Busch Grand National champion, who began this race from last.
Busch Grand National Rookie of the Year, not champion.
Oh, sorry.
Look at this. Look at this.
Jimmy
Careful, boy.
Spencer going around Chuck Bowen.
Ooh, that guy on the outside. I don't know who that was. I just saw it briefly, but he got himself in a little bit of a jam.
Nemechek still right up there at number 87. Front two cars have broken away now.
And they're shuffling Spencer on back, and Irvin goes way high and just jumps up in front of Jimmy Spencer.
That can cause major problems when they're dicing around that way. As many cars as they are there, of course, that's exactly what Dale Earnhardt and Kenny Schrader want to see, is those guys dicing around back there, because that lets them pull away.
Yeah, they're having a good time looking in their rearview mirror saying, just go ahead and battle back there, guys. We'll take off and leave you. Earnhardt and Schrader have broken away. Then comes Ernie Irvan in the third position. We might mention that Sterling Marlin, who was among those who are ending up in the front, is out of the race, as is Tracy Leslie. Both those cars have gone behind the wall with mechanical problems.
Larry Beluski from the Speedway here in Daytona just stopped by and told me they took Robert Huffman directly to Halifax Hospital. They didn't go to the care center in the infield. They went straight over to the Halifax Hospital. He was alert and conscious over by the car, as you said, Bob. He got out of the car of his own accord, but they took him over. He had some kind of breathing problems they wanted to check at the hospital.
And we will have a further update on Robert Huffman as the information becomes available to us. 42 out of 120 laps in the Goodies 300 at Daytona International Speedway, and right now the lead is held by Dale Earnhardt. More of our coverage right after this.
Today, performance cars come in a variety.
Bob Jenkins, Benny Parsons, Ned Jarrett, John Kernan, and Dr. Jerry Punch back at Daytona International Speedway as this area of the country has come alive for Speed Weeks 1992. We're in the process of bringing you the Goodies 300, the next to the last event of the Speed Weeks period. Tommy is in his 300th consecutive start. He has never missed the starting field for a Busch Grand National race. And Benny, that's the one thing I think we need to explain. We've been mentioning how this is beginning the second decade of Busch Grand National racing. That's true, but these NASCAR sportsmen, as they used to be called, have been running here really since 1959.
And I call them sportsmen about half the time. I'm still not accustomed to call them the Busch Grand National cars. And so if I say sportsman today, I mean Busch Grand National. There is also a sportsman division in NASCAR division. We're not running it today.
And are the Winston Cup drivers good in this race? You bet they are. Benny told you at the beginning of the show, these four drivers have won the last 10 years here in the Goodies 300. Earnhardt with 4 victories, Waltrip with 3, Jeff Bodine with 2, and Bobby Allison was the winner here in 1988. And you can see the best finish by a Busch Grand National driver. Well, they haven't fared so well in this event. And it's a Winston Cup driver, in fact, the defending Winston Cup champion, who was leading the Goodies 300 here in 1992. After 59 laps of the race, Dale Earnhardt. Second, another Winston Cup driver, Ernie Irvan. Then Jimmy Spencer. The best running position right now of a regular Busch Grand National competitor is Ward Burton, who's fourth.
The 75 car we saw on the inside, we haven't given him a call today. That's Butch Miller, who's going to run the entire circuit this year for Charlie Henderson. That's the Food Country car out of Johnson City, Tennessee. Oh, they're trying to go by Spencer and Ward Burton, trying to get hooked up and go by Ernie Irvan.
We've reached the halfway point. Cross flags are shown to the drivers. 60 laps completed and 60 laps are down. And now we're beginning to see this race fall into a little bit of a pattern as the drivers become a little bit more cautious cautious. Although they continue to trade positions here in this lead draft that consists of about 11 cars. Leads them down with Jimmy Spencer now in second position in the Goodies 300 from Daytona International Speedway. Back in a moment. The Goodies 300 here on ESPN Speed World today from Daytona International Speedway. We're under caution again, and this is the reason why. There was a two-car accident at the entrance to the backstretch.
This is Shauna Robinson. The white number 21 spins, backs in the wall, then the right front comes around. Also, Joe Bessie just to the right side of the screen as we widen out. I think you'll be able to see he was also involved in the crash.
And from that point, there was a lot of cars on pit road for stops. Dr. Jerry Punch reported.
Dale Earnhardt brings the Goodrich Chevrolet down pit road for what may be his final pit stop. They can go about 50 to 52 laps. That would be the absolute most. And they are right now about 51 laps away. 27 on the bottom, 3 on the top. 27 is leading, as is Dale Earnhardt in the Goodrich Chevrolet as they head down pit road. Ward Burton's crew servicing that car. Ernie Irvin is leading as well. So for many of these drivers, that was their final pit stop, guys. They just top off the tanks, no tire change, and they're away.
Well, Jerry, I think it will be close for some of them to make it the rest of the way. And can Dale Earnhardt still lead this thing and make it the rest of the way because he's using more fuel out front? Now, there's one driver that made a pit stop that was a costly one for him. Jeff Burton came in, spun around, did a 180. They penalized him 5 laps. Fellas, no way you can make that the way these cars are running here now.
And Jimmy Spencer was held on pit road for his car being over his assigned line, and so there were a couple of violations on pit road.
Also, Jack Sprague, the Staff America Oldsmobile, was held because his car his nose was across the line.
All right, getting set for the restart now. There's the green flag waving. Troy Beebe is the leader of the race in car number 24. Right behind him is Ernie Irvin, then Earnhardt, Schrader, Ward Burton, and Mark Martin.
As we watched the pit stop just a moment ago, we saw Earnhardt going down pit road. We saw Ernie Irvin lead the white line at the end of pit road. Irvin crossed that before Earnhardt. That's why he was able to start this race in front of Dale Earnhardt.
And we have a further update on the condition of Robert Huffman, one of those involved in an accident here this afternoon. Dr. Jerry Punch has that information.
Bob, the news is not as bad as we might have first thought. He has burns involving his face, chin, neck, right shoulder, and part of his right arm. He also inhaled some superheated air and maybe some chemical. Not really sure right now. They're going to have to watch that for a while. I'm sure he'll get some chest x-rays and some other x-rays, but fortunately Robert Huffman is awake and alert with some minor burns involving the face and neck area. Otherwise, he is uninjured. That's good news.
He took a hard shot in turn number 2, but he is in good shape, and we're glad to hear that. Dale Earnhardt now leads the race. The car at the front of the line is Jimmy Spencer, but he's a lap down.
Well, Bob, starting on the outside, as Benny pointed out a little bit earlier, for the cars that are lap down has worked good. Well, it did for a moment for Jimmy Spencer, but now Dale Earnhardt coming up there trying to get around him, but Spencer was able to get up and get to that back that he was penalized. But can he stay out there now that Dale Earnhardt has taken over the lead?
Here comes Earnhardt to the inside, passing Jimmy Spencer and Kenny Schrader almost to the apron of the racetrack on the backstretch.
And that's Kenny Schrader on the outside, Ernie Irvin on the outside. He and Jimmy Spencer very, very close. Spencer almost loses control. You see the left front fender is flapping on Ernie Irvin's car.
Dale Earnhardt has been very strong this weekend. He pulled off what was perhaps the most incredible finish I have seen in many, many years of auto racing when he won the IROC yesterday.
It looked to me like he fell out of the sky, Bob. All of a sudden, the car was there. I was watching Harry Gant and Ricky Rudd, and all of a sudden, Earnhardt went across the line first. I still don't know how he did that.
Unbelievable. And Rudd and Gant ended up in an absolute dead heat for second position. It was just an incredible finish. Dale Earnhardt won that race. Oh, again, we see some contact coming out of 4, and somehow these guys managed to keep the handle.
Oh, I mean, Spencer had to go up and touch whoever was on the outside, and if we could see the right side of Spencer's car, I'd almost guarantee there's a tire mark on the right side of it.
Well, maybe Jimmy Spencer has...
Oh, it spins!
And just as we wipe to the replay, there's a spin and a multi-car crash in turn number 2.
That's Joe Nemechek, outside pole sitter. The car is burning, I believe.
And we have seen fire on numerous occasions here this afternoon. And it looks like that car is...
There's Bobby Labonte over there in 63, Chuck Bound. There's Michael Waltrip once again, our pole sitter.
The 99 car, Ricky Craven involved. And here it is again.
Here we see him right to the right of the screen, just some contact. And the 87 car spins, he goes down, and what happens is you got to go back up. As he goes back up, we're right behind the sign, but watch as these cars come in there, and boom, Chuck Bound nails him. That's the 19 car of Tom Peck. Bobby Labonte goes down. There's 24 car, 34 car, that's Todd Bodine, the Hungry Jack car.
That looks like a fuel fire, Benny. And these cars obviously were full of fuel because they had just come in during that most recent caution period, and when the car made hard contact with the wall and when he was hit by Chuck Bound, obviously some fuel caught fire. There is the scene of the crash in turn number 2. That's where most of the action has been this afternoon, and we have a replay from another angle.
We can see some heavy, and there the flames. Not only do they ignite in Nemechek's car, but also those cars behind them. This looks like Sterling Marlin's fire up in Bristol last year. Doesn't it remind you of that?
Yeah, it does. Bobby Labonte was there involved.
There's Mike Wallace.
Like Mike Wallace, yeah. There goes Jimmy Hensley. Has several go to the inside and avoid the wreckage.
Tommy Houston has some damage on his car. As I said, Michael Waltrip was driving away.
9 cars involved in this crash. Some grass catching fire around the Nemechek car.
There's Bobby Labonte. Labonte's running over trying to help them get in the car. He went straight to the window net, and here's another driver. Looked like another driver rushing in there to the aid. Now then, the driver has stepped back and let the rescue people go in there and go to work.
Driver we're concerned about is Joe Nemechek, and 8 other cars involved in a crash in turn number 2 in the Goodies 300. We're under our 5th caution of the afternoon in the Goodies 300 here at Daytona International Speedway. And this accident involved as many as 11 cars in one way or another, Benny.
We'll see about the 8th or 9th car back. Just some slight contact between Jimmy Spencer and the 87 car of Joe Nemechek. Nemechek goes up the racetrack in front of Chuck Bound. Also, Todd Bodine I saw in the crash. Bobby Labonte was in the crash. No place for these fellas to go. And there is Nemechek being loaded on the ambulance, and he was taken to the infield care center to be looked over.
He is being checked at the infield care center, and we will bring you a further update when it becomes available. And once again, the overhead shot from the Goodyear blimp. Chuck Bound involved, and Dr. Jerry Punch is there.
This is what's left of Chuck Bound's Nescafe Classic Pontiac. A brand new race car just a few minutes ago now is essentially junk. And I've just caught up with Jeff Hensley, who built this car, and almost in tears here, Jeff. For the 3rd year in a row, you guys are going to carry this thing home in a lot of little pieces.
Yeah, well, it's done got comical now. It's past the tear stage, but no, Carl was really running good, and right before that stop, Chuck was commenting how good the car was driving, and we're just trying not to do what happened here, and that's not get in trouble. I hated for Nescafe and our new associate Nesty. They come on board this year to help us out, and looked like we was going to get a good run for them in here today, but we're a good team, and this is just one race of many. One race don't win a championship.
Indeed. They're going back to green flag racing here, Bob.
Lap number 83, and the green flag comes out once again. Dale Earnhardt is at the front of the pack, and he has led all but 20 laps this afternoon, although we have only had 8 leaders. And a reminder of the Sunkist Invitational Track and Field meet on the 15th at 10 o'clock Eastern Time, Part 1, and then Part 2 will be on at 11:30 from the LA Sports Arena.
Earnhardt trying to to break away. Ernie Irvin, and look, they're about 3 abreast. That's Robert Presley on the inside, number 59. The 15 on the outside is Kenny Schrader. Cars 2 by 2 all back through the field. Who do you follow, Bob? Which line do you get in? That's always the question. Where do you go?
I think I get behind Earnhardt at the moment because he obviously has a fast car, but look at Schrader move up on the inside, Ned.
Yeah, it seems that way, Bob. We picked up a pretty good wind down here. It's a tailwind going into turn 3. They're perhaps going in there maybe 8 to 10 miles an hour faster than they have been all afternoon. Of course, it's a headwind when they go down the front straightaway. But with these cars all bunched up together, getting in there faster than they have in the past, they're going to have to be careful, especially right there when they're 3 wide.
Look at Ernie Irvin, like a shot out of a cannon. This looks like the old days of slingshotting.
But here comes Earnhardt on the outside. Back again. He's really getting some great momentum on the outside. This is Jimmy Spencer in the black car trying to take over that second spot. But Ernie moves up, closes the spot. Closes the spot. Spencer is a lap down, isn't he?
Yeah, remember he got penalized on pit road and dropped a lap. So that third car there, the number 45, is not on the lead lap. Bobby Labonte is trying to get back into the race, Doc.
Indeed, he is, Bob, the defending series champion. And, Bobby, you managed a little bit of a smile while they're working on your car behind us. What happened over there?
Well, one car got sideways and spun down the racetrack, and then I was on the high side, and I thought, well, maybe they'll stay down low, and we had to come up. The wreck come up towards us. I don't know, I guess I got into somebody, and somebody was getting into me. You know, when something like that happens, really ain't much you can do, but you know, we're fortunate we only came out as bad as we did because it could have been a lot worse in the Slim Jim Chevrolet. We're going to try to get it back out there and gain a few points because you know how that is.
Now, you ran over to Joe Nemechek, your fellow driver. How is he?
He's fine. I'm going to say he had a lot of smoke inhalation, but he's all right. Todd Bodine was there before I was. I couldn't get out of the car as quickly as he could, but I believe he'll be okay. I'm sure he'll be out of breath for a while.
Okay, Bobby Labonte here trying to get back in race. Let's go upstairs and check in with Benny Parsons, who may have a further report on Nemechek. Benny?
Jerry Plush and Larry Beluski just stopped by here, told me that Joe Nemechek is fine. They don't believe he has any smoke inhalation at all. He has no burns. As a matter of fact, they don't believe he's going to go to the hospital. They're going to release him from the care center in the infield.
Boy, that is good news. There was a lot of fire surrounding that car, and you just hold your breath in a situation like that. Up here in the booth and in the grandstand, and I'm sure he was too, but boy, it's just good news to hear that he is not injured to the point of even have to go to the hospital. Earnhardt leading. Ernie Irvin running in second position. Third is Mark Martin.
Beginning to make his way up through here a little bit. Not too much about old DW, one of those 4 drivers that's won here in the last 10 years. He's just gradually coming up through as we see Jimmy Spencer coming down on the inside of Ernie Irvin. He'd like to get up and pass Earnhardt and get back in the lead lap. But don't count old DW out yet. Hadn't been running too good all day, but he's back in the hunt now.
Unofficially in 8th position last time they passed by, and here's the roof cam on top of that Western Auto AC Delco Chevy.
Remember, we talked at the beginning of the show, and Darrell Walter went up and was trying to take the lead. That wasn't Darrell Walter we were accustomed to. This is a Darrell Walter we're accustomed to seeing. And there goes Spencer on the inside of Earnhardt. He's now back in the lead lap. He can get a caution.
This is Jimmy Spencer's big race of Stock Car Speed Weeks 1992 because he has not qualified for the Daytona 500.
That's right. He failed to qualify the Molly Black Gold Chevrolet in the Daytona 500. Earnhardt's going to try it on the outside. Now, Spencer's been going in and going up the hill. Let's see.
Let's hope he doesn't this time.
Yeah, right. He didn't.
He'll fall in between. Jimmy Spencer will fall in between Earnhardt and second place Ernie Irvin.
That red car back at the very tail end of the screen is Bill Elliott in his new push car.
Martin is third, Ward Burton fourth, and Ken Schrader is fifth. Just a tremendous race, and although, as we've said, Dale Earnhardt has led most laps, he has had his rear view mirror full all afternoon as Darrell Waltrip hangs in there in 8th position. Up ahead is Jeff Gordon in 7th. Closed in on the back bumper of Allison also moving up through traffic.
Bill Elliott right behind. A group of Winston Cup drivers. Waltrip squeezes in between Davey Allison and Bill Elliott.
Rick Mast is also in that group of cars.
You know, guys, I might have bragged on Darrell a little bit too soon. He's dropped a few positions since I made that little talk about him there a moment ago. His car looked like it was picking up the draft good, but now it doesn't look like it's really working in the turns the way it needs to.
Yeah, he got slightly out of the drafting line to the inside and lost several positions at that point, and so he's now trying to get back up in the competitive spot. Earnhardt moving away now from Ernie Irvan in second position as he is side by side with Jimmy Spencer. The Goody's 300 from Daytona International Speedway only has 30 more laps to go. Another crash has slowed the Goody's 300 here at Daytona International Speedway, and it was this incident up in turn number 4.
Jimmy Hensley made some awfully hard contact with the right side of the car. And we can see the car looks like it's about half as wide as it's supposed to be. He slides off. We see him hit the brakes and stop the car. And look. Ooh.
Troy Beebe came within inches, but missed him. Now, Jimmy did get out of the car under his own power, went over to the grass there in the turn 4 area, and an ambulance came to him. They are taking him to the infield care center for a checkup. Now let's take a look at our AutoZone race summary as we get set to go back to green flag racing in the Goody's 300. We will do so on lap number 96. Dale Earnhardt has led 70 of the 90. 5 caution periods, total of 24 laps. 21 cars on the lead lap at an average speed of 129.63 miles an hour. The green flag is out. Here we go again. It's Earnhardt, Irvin, Ward Burton, Robert Presley is running 4th, and Jeff Gordon was 5th, but look at Darrell Waltrip. He is way down on the inside to get around Jeff Gordon.
Almost passed in the dirt. Ned Jarrett, pretty heady move, wasn't it?
Boy, that was a heady move, and Bill Elliott did the same thing on the outside, but he ran up on Kenny Schrader and couldn't go anywhere. They caught some guys asleep there and took off.
And Ernie Irvan is being shuffled to the back as the drafting line forms to the inside of him.
Oh, Ernie, he really got hung up on the outside with no one to dance with and went back about 5 spots.
Now looking back on Jeff Gordon and Davey Allison to the left from Darrell Waltrip's car. They come 3 wide off of turn number 4 with Earnhardt to the inside. Rick Mast in the middle. John Kernan has an update on Ernie Irvan.
Bob, Ernie has had a problem on restarts all day. If you would watch him, you'd watch him fall back. He's just not getting the car up through the gears, the acceleration that he needs to stay with Dale Earnhardt, and consequently, he lost a drafting partner right there, and you see just what happens. You just go backwards.
Yep, dropped all the way back to 5th spot. That's where Ernie is at the moment.
And we've talked about Jimmy Spencer trying to get a lap back before the last caution flag. He, in fact, did get his lap back when Jimmy Hensley hit the wall up there, and he got it back because Earnhardt chose not to race him.
That's right.
By that crash car. Good move on Earnhardt's part.
It certainly was. Jimmy Spencer is back on the lead lap. Dale Earnhardt just let him pass by and pick it up on that caution flag.
And that black car that we see going by Darrell Waltrip is the man we're talking about, Jimmy Spencer.
Spencer in front of Walton. Now Jeff Gordon setting the car into the banking. Now onto the flat backstretch.
Cars all trying to get in line to get that draft. We see 2 cars side by side, Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Spencer. Gordon in the white number 1, and Spencer goes up the racetrack.
Ooh. Taking Jeff high in turn 4, and that's Bill Elliott right behind, and Darrell Waltrip here as we have the shot from the roof cam. There's Elliott on the right.
The black and white zeros, Rick Mast. I think we've said that once or twice today.
Jimmy Spencer's up to 10th.
Darrell's car took off there on that restart, but I don't know, it just, once they get up to speed, his car just doesn't seem to have what he needs for it to have, whether it's in the corners or what. But you can see how far he is behind there now as we look at his windshield, but it's just certainly not the way he wants it here. Bobby Labonte coming back into the action as we watch this coming down the front straightaway here.
Ned, we see that Darrell's got really good acceleration at the restarts, but the problem is the car has been loose all day long. And talking with Eddie Jones and the crew, Billy Hodges and those boys up there, they just have been chasing an ill-handling race car all day long. They still haven't gotten it solved.
Dale Earnhardt leads this race now with less than 20 laps to go, trying to make it 2 consecutive wins in the Goody's 300. Ward Burton is the driver in second position. Daytona International Speedway is the scene. We'll be right back. Bob Jenkins, Benny Parsons, Ned Jarrett, John Kernan, Dr. Jerry Punch back at the Goody's 300 at Daytona International Speedway. Out front, Dale Earnhardt and Ward Burton. Those two cars running by themselves. Behind those two, a whole bunch of action. Ernie Irvan third. Robert Presley is in there. So is Davey Allison. Jimmy Spencer, though, is the guy who is trying to work his way to the front. He was up as far as 5th, but has now dropped back a couple of positions.
He has dropped back. We saw him on the inside of Mark Martin, scared Mark Martin to death. He backed out of the gas, so Spencer did get this spot.
Laps winding down. That's the completion of lap number 106.
Well, fellas, as we watch Ernie Irvan there running in third place, Dale Earnhardt and Ward Burton are beginning to pull away a little bit. That's what they want to do. Now, these fellas hooking up drafting in a threesome back there might be able to catch him, but they wanted to get away so that they could settle this thing between themselves. And I tell you, Ward Burton's car has been strong. I feel that he's had the strongest car in the race. He just hasn't been able to get up there and get track position until right now, but he has it now.
Yeah, you're right. And look who has caught the first two. Irvan and Robert Presley and Davey Allison have caught Burton and Earnhardt in just that length of time.
The most carefully laid plans. They felt like they could break away, but alas, they look up, and the field is closed up on them again. Instead of a 2-car race, we now have about a 5-car race.
Dale Earnhardt is going for 3 wins in a row and is trying to become the first driver to do that since Bill Dennis did it in 72, 73, and 74.
Ward Burton in that red, white 27 at Charlotte Motor Speedway last fall in their 300-mile event prior to the mellow yellow 500 had the best car that day. He had Earnhardt beat. He had Michael Waltrip. He had them all beat, but did not stop once to get fuel and ran out of gas with about 20 laps to go.
More on Ward Burton from Dr. Jerry Punch.
Bob, it may be hard to believe, but this is 30-year-old Ward Burton's first ever trip to Daytona as a race car driver. But possibly an omen. His sponsor, Gwaldy, is also a co-sponsor on Richard Petty's Fan Appreciation Tour. We're talking about new drivers of the future. One legend goes out, and another young superstar moves in. Bob?
Another young superstar, Jeff Gordon, who started last and worked his way up to the top 10, is out of the race. The engine apparently let go on the Baby Ruth Ford, and Jeff Gordon dropped out of competition. 11 laps to go when they cross the line this time, with Earnhardt still leading, Ward Burton and Ernie Irvan.
Doesn't look like Ernie, Robert Presley, Davey Allison, those guys can get up behind Earnhardt and Ward Burton. We may have a 2-car shootout for the end.
I'll tell you what, Mr. Earnhardt will make that GM Chevrolet as wide as he possibly can in the last 11 laps. Ned?
Well, there's no question about that, Bob. You wonder, we talked about how fast Ward Burton's car is. He seemed to be content running along behind Earnhardt there, but you can see that Ernie Irvan and them were keeping tabs on him. Wonder what would happen if he was out front. His car has been awfully fast. I got a feeling that if he was out front, he might be able to pull Earnhardt away from that pack.
Yeah, that would be an interesting situation. I don't think that's going to happen, though. There's a position change back there for 5th as Jimmy Spencer comes around Davey Allison. We'll be right back with more of the final laps of the Goody's 300 from Daytona International Speedway. Back after this. lot of people on hand for the climax of Stock Car Speed Weeks Daytona, the Daytona 500 by STP tomorrow. This is the Goody's 300, and we've got now 9 more laps to go, and it is virtually anybody's race. Earnhardt continues to lead, but right behind is Ward Burton and Ernie Irvin. That's Butch Miller going through the grass here in the Tri-Oval.
And the caution flag is waving, so it may be a race back to the end. Butch Miller blew an engine, spun down in the grass, and hasn't hit anything. But the leaders had been by the caution flag, and it is now waving. If they can't clean the track up, this would be the final green flag lap of the race. Here's Earnhardt, the leader. Can Ward Burton catch him?
I don't believe he's going to be able to catch him. Here they come in the third turn now as Dale Earnhardt keeps that car on the bottom of the racetrack. Ward Burton about 5-6 car lengths behind. They come off the banking and onto the Tri-Oval, and Dale Earnhardt will win the race back to the checkered flag, or rather the yellow flag. And there is our seventh caution period of the afternoon. Butch Miller car just seemed to lose an engine, Benny, as it crossed the start-finish line and then slid down into the grassy part near turn number 1.
Here we see him from our camera down, and there the engine goes. He comes off and loops the car, and around he goes.
He was running in 8th position when that happened, Ned.
Fellas, he was fortunate to just slide right out of that pack of cars down to the inside as opposed to going up to the outside. It could have been another major wreck here, but the fate just took him to the inside down in the grass area, and as Benny said, it didn't hit anything, so at least he got by with saving the race car. He stands there and looks at it now, not too happy about it.
He's standing at the front of the car saying, darn, I wish that hadn't happened. I had a good run going. Butch Miller is okay. The caution out once again at Daytona. About to go back to green and settle the winner of the Goody's 300. We will have 6 laps to go. This is why we're under caution right now.
This is from on top of Darrell Waltrip's Western Auto automobile. Butch Miller blows an engine, and look at the oil and water that went on Darrell Waltrip's windshield.
Car got out from under Butch Miller, but it slid safely to the inside and not to the outside of the track.
And notice it didn't fly through the air and start flipping like these cars used to do, so they've slid them down enough that they'll stay on the ground now.
You know, there was a very bad ARCA crash that happened just about in that manner a few years ago, and in that instance, the car took off and flipped several times, but that isn't what happened in this one. The green flag is out, 114 laps completed. Now, Jerry, I understand that Dale Earnhardt had some comment when that incident happened.
Bob, Tony Uri, his crew chief, said, Dale, it's been pretty exciting out there. Dale said, yeah, it's been exciting, but you haven't seen anything yet. It's really going to get exciting these last 5 laps, guys. Watch this. And he just took off.
He has got Ward Burton to contend with. Burton is still not letting Earnhardt get very far ahead. Just about a car length. Then a little bit of racetrack back to 3rd place, Ernie Irvin.
And Ernie is literally being pushed by that car. Is that Robert Presley behind him that's literally pushing him? Now that's Jimmy
Spencer, who's moved to 4th place. And now Irvin looks like something may be wrong with Ward Burton. He goes high on the racetrack and loses 3 positions.
What about Earnhardt? Earnhardt all of a sudden has just lost a lot of his.
2nd place battle between Ernie Irvin and Jimmy Spencer as they come down.
Benny, you know, we talked about that experience at the top of the show. I think we're seeing a little bit of it pay off here now. Ward Burton, a great race driver, got a good race car, but he got in the wrong position. He might be able to get Irvin back, but experience is what made that situation right there and let Ernie Irvin up there in 2nd place.
That was Steve Grissom in number 31 that we haven't talked about too much today. He has moved up into contention, but now the front 3 cars have broken away, Earnhardt, Irvin, and Ward Burton. But the scramble behind, look at this. Davey Allison is in the mix there. That's the number 31 car of Steve Grissom, Rick Mast, Mark Martin,
Bill Elliott's in there.
Darrell Waltrip.
4 more laps to go.
And John Kernan has a comment on Steve Grissom.
Well, Bob, remember a couple of years ago, a guy named Derek Cope who beat Earnhardt here after Earnhardt's tires shredded. His crew chief, Buddy Parrott, is up top telling Steve Grissom on the radio how to drive this race. He's been calling the shots that they'll make in the pits all day long from up top, that eye in the sky that we saw in some cases last year.
Steve Grissom started in 16th position, so it's been a fine run for him, although we haven't talked about him very much. Less than 4 laps to go in the Goody's 300. It's still Earnhardt out front.
Earnhardt is running low sometimes through 3 and 4. He runs high through 3 and 4 sometimes. I think that's to confuse the competitors behind him.
Fellas, you're talking about Steve Grissom. During one of the wrecks down there, he came down on pit road, had a tire completely shredded. He didn't, of course, lose a lap, but he did have to go to the tail end of the pack after making an unscheduled pit stop, but he has come back up through there very good. If he can just get by a couple more cars, he might get himself a good finishing position here.
Here we see him on the inside of Darrell Waltrip. Back to the leaders. Dale Earnhardt, the black 3, Ernie Irvin, the yellow 4, and the 27, the red and white car, that's Ward Burton. And up high is Jimmy Spencer, Robert Presley,
and Rick Mast.
That's the top 6 cars.
2 laps to go. And we have seen the experience up front most of the race in Dale Earnhardt and Ernie Irvin. But you got to take your hat off to Ward Burton, who has driven a tremendous race.
First time he's ever been to Daytona, as Jerry Punch told us just a couple of minutes ago.
Now the second 3 are going to be able to catch Ward Burton. It's going to be a 6-car shootout to the checkered flag. Next time around, they'll get the white flag, and we'll have one 2.5-mile circuit to go.
You're right, Spencer is closed up. He's on the back bumper now. Earnhardt's going to go inside, outside.
White flag. Let's see what happens on the last lap. They stay in single file formation through the first and second corners.
Okay, they're going to have to start making their move pretty quick, Bob, especially the way Earnhardt can use up that racetrack. Going into turn 3 is where they need to make the pass, but nobody's been able to muster enough speed so far. Can be now.
Earnhardt appears to be, in fact, moving away just slightly, although now Ernie Irvin reduces the advantage to less than a full car length. Here they come off the 4th corner for the final time. Earnhardt leading Irvin down. Is Earnhardt going to win it? Yes, he is. It's Earnhardt, Irvin, Ward Burton, Jimmy Spencer, Robert Presley, and Rick Mast.
And I don't know who that led that next group of cars across. It might have been Mark Martin.
It was indeed Mark Martin, followed by Darrell Waltrip, then Ken Schrader, Steve Grissom, Bill Elliott, and Davey Allison. Well, Dale Earnhardt has won his 3rd consecutive Goody's 500 here at Daytona International Speedway. And boy, he could win a lot of races here at Daytona, but until he has the Daytona 500 trophy in his trophy room, he'll not be satisfied. Here's how this second group of cars finished. That's Mark Martin leading, Schrader on the inside, and Darrell Waltrip.
And Waltrip just barely beats Schrader as they go by.
It was a great race. We had several crashes. We saw fire. No serious injuries to any of the drivers, and Dale Earnhardt comes home the victor. We'll be in victory lane with him after this. At the Goody's 300 here at Daytona International Speedway this afternoon, Dale Earnhardt has recorded his 18th career win in this series. It's his 3rd in a row here at Daytona and 5th overall. Earnhardt has won, and the celebration is going on in victory lane.
You're right, Bob. They are celebrating down here, and Dale climbs out of the car and holds up 3 big fingers for 3 in a row. Congratulations.
It's been a good day for us. You know, the Jim Goodrich Chevrolet ran great, and Tony Urey and Spinney Clendon, all the guys worked on the engines back at the Richard shop, and Jack Temple with a qualifying engine for down here. Everybody did a great job. All my crew that works on this car, they They tickled to death. You can't say enough about them, and they just did a great job.
Have to be impressed with young Ward Burton. He did a heck of a job running with you all day.
Well, he did. I thought he was the strongest car out there with us, and I thought he would hang on to second there, and he was the one I was worried about, and here come Ernie.
Well, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, maybe tomorrow, Dale Earnhardt wins the Goody 300 here at Daytona. Bob?
He sure would like to put a victory together at the 500-mile race tomorrow. Now, here are the final results of our Goodies 300 today. We had 7 caution periods today. Some pretty spectacular crashes, Benny, but no serious injuries, although we do have an update on Joe Nemechek.
Well, I said that he would be released from the infield care center and there was no injuries. Well, he, in fact, has been transported over to the Halifax Medical Center. He has a few slight burns on his back. They want to just make sure that he did not inhale some flames or some of the flame retardant stuff they use to put out the fire.
So Dale Earnhardt won his Twin 125 qualifying race. He won the IROC event, and now he has come home in first place in the Goodies 300 this afternoon here at Daytona International Speedway. There you see the rest of the finishers in today's event. The checkered flag. My thanks to Benny Parsons, Ned Jarrett, John Kernan, and Dr. Jerry Punch. This is Bob Jenkins. Thank you for joining us here at Daytona for the Goodies 300. For now, so long, everyone.